with this shocking decision.
USC football took a tough loss to Michigan over the weekend. What went wrong, and what does this mean for the Trojans moving forward this season?
And USC women's basketball just picked up another top recruit. All that and more coming up on Sports Scene. Welcome back to another season of Sports Scene. I'm Grace Schneider.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Devin Diet. After another weekend of some competitive matchups, Week 5 AP poll rankings have been released. Texas remains at the top of the rankings after beating UTSA last week 56-7. They are now followed by Georgia at number 2, Ohio State, Alabama, and Tennessee, who has moved up the rankings from 6th to 5th this week. Some other big shifts include Missouri, who dropped 4 places to number 11, and Michigan, who climbed their way up 6 places after feeding to number 12 after defeating USC. USC now sits at number 13. Football fans can look forward to another week of exciting games, including Ohio State versus Michigan State, an ACC showdown between Virginia Tech and Miami, as well as a rivalry matchup between Georgia and Alabama.
Last Saturday, the Trojans traveled to the Michigan Big House for the first Big Ten game of the Trojans' football history. The two football powerhouses battled back and forth, concluding in a 27-24 win for the Michigan Wolverines. Despite 32 passing yards for the Michigan quarterback Alex Orji, the Maize and Blue ran the ball 46 times for 290 yards. For the Trojans, Miller Moss continued to excel with 283 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Trojans, as well as Woody Marks carrying the ball 13 times for 100 yards. The Trojans give the ball back to Michigan with enough time for them to get in the end zone and take the lead. With over 350 yards on offense, the Trojans showed their capabilities on the offensive side, but fell short on third down conversions. More stats favoring the Wolverines include 4 false starts on offense for the Trojans, which could be attributed to the noise in the first game for USC on the season. Additionally, the Michigan squad converted 100% of the first downs they attempted, while the Trojans for third downs converted only 36% of them. Well, obviously, those stats don't initially favor the Trojans, but what were your thoughts on the game this weekend, and how do you think the Trojans can improve?
Yeah, Miller Moss the other day in practice said Michigan didn't forget how to win football games, but clearly we did. I think offensively, there was some bad play calling from Lincoln Riley, and they just looked confused. There were a couple times he just threw the ball away, so I think that they definitely have some work they need to do.
Yeah, well, I actually think this loss was a good loss for USC. It is a wake-up call. It's a call that says, hey, welcome to the Big Ten, USC. This is the big house. This is where you're going to be for the next several games in the season. So this is definitely needed for USC. It shows that they have heart. Even though the offense couldn't do much in the first half, the defense stayed strong, and I think that's what is most important from this game.
Well, obviously, I think you can tell from this game that Miller Moss is certainly the real deal. I mean, on the season, 890 passing yards. He's outthrown the other quarterbacks he's played by 443 yards. I will say I think Lincoln Riley was absolutely outcoached in this game by Sherron Moore. Sherron Moore did everything he could with the offense he was provided. He ran the ball as much as he could, and he got the job done.
Yeah. USC definitely has a long season ahead, and I think, again, this game will definitely help them in practice, show them what they need to work on, and get them prepared for this upcoming season. But to talk about some old USC football, for the first time since 2015, the Wisconsin Badgers face USC in LA for their Big Ten Challenge. Wisconsin is coming off a bye week after Alabama gave them a beatdown at home, winning 42-10. The Badgers lost their QB1, Tyler Van Dyke, to a torn ACL in the first quarter. Mississippi State transfer Braden Locke stepped in as the Badgers' signal caller, but it was a tough showing for the redshirt sophomore. Locke completed only 13 of 26 passes for 125 yards. On the defensive side of the ball, things looked just as bad. The Badgers gave up 181 yards on 34 tries and allowed a 72.2 pass completion rate for the Crimson Tide. This season, Wisconsin has already turned the ball over 4 times over 3 games. Even though the Badgers struggled against Alabama, they put up a strong showing against South Dakota and Western Michigan. The Badgers' overall record now stands at 2-1. Wisconsin will have their Big Ten opener against USC this Saturday at the LA Memorial Coliseum.
USC is hoping to learn from their mistakes in their first Big Ten matchup last weekend. If USC wants to come out with a win, we'll need to see some more explosive plays in USC's passing game. They've been efficient, but if head coach Lincoln Riley can make some better play calls and receiver Zach Branch continues to get loose, the Trojans will come out on top.
The reality is we all got to be a little bit better. There's not any group that's got to be massively better. But O-line included, we all got to take steps, coaching, the players around them, to get it going, to play the level we want to. And frankly, within the first couple of games this year, there's been a ton of positive signs. So we got to get back on track that way, and I'm confident we will.
USC is favored to win by 16 points over the Badgers, but they'll have to rely on these offensive players to get the job done. Sophomore Zachariah Branch was the only Trojan receiver to get going in the first half against Michigan. In the second, Deuce Robinson, Jay Fair, and Jacoby Lane all caught touchdowns. The Trojans' receiver group is young, but very talented. Despite getting shut down in the first half, lead back Woody Marks ended up with 100 rushing yards and the biggest play of the game for SC, stripping a recovered fumble back from UMich defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. Marks and Quinton Joyner have both been excellent on their carries this year. What do you all think will be key for USC to win this game against Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think coming off this Michigan game, it's actually a very good thing. Wisconsin and Michigan have a lot of similarities in their offenses, especially now with Braden Locke, a backup quarterback. I think you got to stack the box like you did in the Michigan game. You got to make them beat you with the pass. And on offense, I want to see Lincoln Riley and Miller Moss take deeper shots. Zach Branch, Jacoby Lane, those are playmakers. You got to throw the ball to those guys deep down the field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think USC needs to take advantage of Locke being an unexperienced quarterback. They need to apply pressure onto him and force some errors. USC defense also needs to tighten up on Wisconsin's run game. They haven't been the best against the run, so they definitely need to tighten that up and force Wisconsin to pass.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wisconsin is ranked 125th nationally in their explosive run rate, so I don't think that will be a huge issue for the Trojans. Wisconsin is not even a top half ranked team in the Big Ten, so I think this should be an easy win for them.
Definitely.
Yeah, so we'll all be looking forward to what the Trojans do this weekend. But for now, Casey Kasliner gives us This Week in Trojan History.
Welcome to a brand new segment, This Week in Trojan History, where we dive in on iconic USC sports moments from past years that fall on this week. Well, 20 years ago today, Matt Leinart and the Trojans overcame a steep halftime deficit at Stanford.
Bush looking, bounces to the outside. This is trouble. It's also touchdown for the Trojans.
En route to their undefeated BCS title-winning season, USC was tested on the road against Trent Edwards and the Cardinal in Week 5. Allowing an 80-yard touchdown with 10 seconds left in the first half and down 28-17 at the break, USC would go on to shut out Stanford in the final 30 minutes. Lendale White, Matt Leinart, and Reggie Bush all rushed for touchdowns, and the Trojans scored with under 7 minutes left to take their closest victory of 2004. USC's Week 5 win over Stanford established confidence in Pete Carroll's program that would go on to finish 13-0. The Trojans' comeback win displayed the team's stout resiliency on the road during that era. USC captured its 11th and most recent national championship by winning the Orange Bowl against Oklahoma during the 2004 season. Quarterback Matt Leinart finished his successful Heisman campaign with 33 touchdowns and over 3,000 yards, leading the team to back-to-back titles. That's all for this week in Trojan history. Make sure to tune in weekly to reminisce on some of USC's most intense battles. Let's toss it back to the desk to look at the Trojans' current Big Ten foes.
Speaking of those Big Ten foes, the Trojans take on the Wisconsin Badgers in the first home game as a Big Ten team this Saturday. Let's highlight some of their standouts. Let's start with Will Pauling. The redshirt junior receiver has been Wisconsin's most dangerous pass catcher this year by a wide margin. After finishing as the Big Ten's third leading receiver last year, Pauling is off to a similar start this season. He has twice as many catches and yards as any other Badger, with 19 for 191 and a touchdown through 3 games.
Six-year senior Ches Malushi is the lead running back for the Badgers. He's taken the majority of their 43 carries a game so far. Malusi, who's coming off a fractured fibula that ended his 2023 season early, had his most efficient game of the season in Wisconsin's loss to Alabama. He had 66 yards on 11 carries, bringing his season total to 200 rushing yards.
Hunter Wooler is a homegrown Badger from Muskego, Wisconsin, and a vital veteran for their defense. The senior captain leads the team in tackles and passes defended so far. As a veteran, Wooler is key to keeping the Badger defense unit on their feet. On Saturday, he'll become a major part of Wisconsin's effort to slow down the Trojan offense on the air and on the ground. Does Wisconsin have what it takes to pull off this upset?
Well, two things here. Wisconsin is coming off of a bye week. It's a great time for them to rest after that embarrassing loss to Alabama. Gives their new quarterback a chance to kind of settle in and learn his teammates, run the offense. Second thing, like I said before, that Wisconsin has a really ground-based offense. So they already have 5 touchdowns on the ground this season. USC really needs to focus on working on their defense on the run.
I'll say they've been bold on 4th downs especially. They've already converted 83% of their 4th downs. They've gone for it 6 times this year. For reference, USC has only gone for it 3 times and gotten it once. That's a positive. However, back to your point, I think there's absolutely no way that they get the job done at the Coliseum. First Big Ten home game, Trojans are going to take this one.
Yeah, I'm with Liam on this one. I don't think Wisconsin is going to come out with this win. But if you're Wisconsin, you do want to do what Michigan did and run the ball. I think that's the only way. And pray that the Trojans are still hungover from that Michigan game.
You guys, I'm not so sure that USC is just going to pull out this win so easily. I think coming off a loss will help them, but it also might shake their confidence. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it out. What do you think?
That's a tame take. I think, you got to have confidence in Miller Moss, the offense that did an amazing job in their first road game. It's only the 4th, now going to be the 5th game in Miller Moss's career. Something to note as well.
Yeah, I don't think USC can afford to lose any more games this season. I mean, their next 4 games are Big Ten matchups, and they have to continue to win if they even want any sort of shot at the playoffs this year.
Yeah, well, it'll be a tough matchup for both teams. But speaking of some Trojan playmakers, Reggie Bush is now suing USC after getting his Heisman back less than 6 months ago. The 2005 Heisman winner seemed to make amends with the university after talks of being a potential tunnel captain for the Trojans at some point this season. We spoke to students about their thoughts on the new lawsuit.
I hope Reggie Bush wins, in all honesty, because he deserves it. He had a lot of his life derailed by the NCAA. But in a court of law, it's probably not going to hold up because he's asking for compensation for the use of his name, image and likeliness. But when he played for USC, there was no provisions to actually provide players with anything.
I would like a bit more, understanding into why he sued them, because he's known that USC has used his name.
Honestly, I wasn't shocked when I heard that, just because of the length at which he was able to get that trophy back.
Bush's NIL compensation case follows the lead of several other similar lawsuits. If the case goes to trial, it is likely to open the floodgates for many other former influential college athletes. Coming up, is USC women's basketball getting another juju? The women's soccer team starts Big Ten play at home this weekend, making the start of a new era for the big program. We preview the matchups next on Sports Scene.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latina voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all.
Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dime la Hora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latina-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy. Soak your chia, spread the seeds, keep it watered, and watch it grow. And now grow a whole collection of fun with Chia teddy bears, puppies, kittens, rams, bulls. There's even a chia tree to keep your pets company. Chia Pets and Trees, the pottery that grows.
The Chia Pet and Chia Tree are available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames, and Woolworth. Makes a great gift.
Women's basketball continues to bring in top talent, landing class of 2025 number 2 recruit Jazzy Davidson yesterday. The 5-star 6'2" guard is a lefty known for her explosive playmaking and scoring ability. Joining Juju Watkins on the court, they are expected to be a dual threat to opposing teams. Davidson is another addition to the Trojans' stellar recruitment. Ever since Juju Watkins joined the Trojan, it seems like everyone wants to play for USC. The Trojans' 2024 recruiting class was #1 in the country thanks to stars like top 10 recruit Kennedy Smith and #1 transfer out of Stanford, Kiki Iriafen. Davidson is USC's first commit from the class of 2025, but if this is a sign of things to come, there definitely should be more big names heading to the bright lights of LA.
USC women's volleyball team went 3-0 this weekend in their last games of non-conference play. The Trojans defeated LMU, UNLV, and UC San Diego in the home sweep. They now have won 5 matches in a row and have moved up to number 20 on the AVCA rankings. USC women's volleyball held its annual Trojans Invitational last week at Galen Center. The Trojans defeated LMU in 5 sets on Thursday and managed to beat UNLV in 4 sets on Friday. The Trojans defeated UC San Diego to cap off the weekend on a 5-match winning streak. Senior Mia Tuaninga was named Big Ten Setter of the Week. Tuaninga had her 3rd and 4th double-doubles of the season last weekend. In the win over UNLV alone, she boasted an impressive stat line of 39 assists and 14 digs with 4 kills, 2 blocks, and 3 service aces, proving herself to be an offensive and defensive threat for the Trojans. Jaden Livings also received honors as she was chosen for Big Ten Freshman of the Week. She had a career-high 16 kills against LMU, and then the very next day turned around and beat that career high, recording 18 kills in the win over UC San Diego. The true freshman from Dallas, Texas has integrated seamlessly into this lineup. The Trojans will face off against Ohio State in their Big Ten premiere this Friday at the Galen Center. And if you get to the game early, the first 1,000 fans will receive a free Big Ten USC fanny pack.
Well, there's a lot more going on in USC sports, so here's some quick updates on the Trojans. The Trojans women's soccer team has been handling business after winning their first 3 Big Ten games and moving to 7-1-1 on the year. The only loss came to the #1 Stanford Cardinals. Meanwhile, the Trojans boast a 24th rank in the country and have outscored opponents on the season 15-6. This week, the Trojans take on 2 more Big Ten opponents in the Minnesota Gophers and the Wisconsin Badgers.
USC's tennis teams are off to a strong start this season. The men's team dominated at the Sherwood Cup, while the women's team heads to North Carolina for the ITA All-American Championships. In men's tennis, freshmen Niels Hoffman and Connor Church shined, both going undefeated in singles. The Trojans finished 10-2 in singles and 5-2 in doubles. Meanwhile, the women's team has been training hard for their upcoming tournament, with junior Emma Charney leading the charge after a standout performance last weekend.
And finally, USC men's water polo is off to a strong start this season. The Trojans are currently ranked #3 in the country, taking big wins over #2 Stanford and #4 Pepperdine. Max Miller and Robert Lopez have been key to the Trojans' success on offense. After taking 2nd place at the overnight MPSFs at the overnight Invitational, the Trojans look to bounce back versus Cal and Stanford this weekend. Now we'll check in with Thomas and Terrence as they debate who Trojan of the Week is.
Welcome to another season of Trojan of the Week. Get ready for our first live show and a fun, spirited debate where only one of us will end up in tears. I've lost one partner to graduation and gained another. Welcome to the couch, Terrence Holton. To get us started off, let's take a look at women's volleyball's Jaden Livings. The true freshman had a stellar week, earning Big Ten Freshman of the Week in the process. Livings played in a trio of games, notching double-digit kills in all 3 matchups. She even bested herself across the week, setting 2 career highs by notching 16 kills one night and 18 the next to earn her Big Ten weekly honors.
While I hope to live up to Will Camerdell's legacy, last week I tried to play the Thomas game. My Trojan of the Week this time around is the anchor of the Trojans' defense on the gridiron, senior linebacker Eric Gentry. Gentry was stellar in the Trojans' disappointing outcome at Michigan, leading USC in tackles for loss, and sacks, while also forcing a fumble that led to a touchdown, and had a 91.2 defensive run grade, according to Pro Football Focus.
Well, I think before we get this debate started, we do have to remind the people that Michigan had 290 rushing yards that game. That Gentry apparently had a very great rushing defense.
Did, and may I remind you really quickly, it's Trojan singular of the week, not Trojans. If we're talking Trojans of the week, then it's definitely not the USC defense, but Trojan singular, Eric Gentry takes place. Let me read out a few stats for you. Like I said, led the team in tackles, 12 total, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, as well as number 1 in QB hurries, number 2 in QB pressures, and a 92.1 grade, as I mentioned, according to Pro Football Focus.
In a loss, you should say.
In a loss, but it's not team. It's a singular thing.
Okay, but let's take a look at Jaden Livings, because I'll read a couple stats of my own.
I have a few as well.
So she had 47 total kills across the week. She had 21 digs. So mind you, 2 career highs in that week, and she had her first career double-double. This is her 4th, 5th, and 6th career matches. She's at a freshman doing all of these things. She earned Big Ten Freshman of the Week. And hear this out. Eric Gentry got outplayed on the field against Michigan. It wasn't even him who won Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. It was Josiah Stewart of Michigan.
You're talking about a Michigan player, though. That's not really fair, is it?
Yeah, but if he gets outplayed, obviously, by an opponent, I don't think he can be our Trojan.
Can we talk about Jada Living's percentages, her attack percentages? Because she's nothing more than a Jordan Poole of this team. She's like the 3rd best player. Her attack percentage against UNLV, 6th on the team. Her attack percentage against UCSD, 5th. And against LMU, 7th, that one you mentioned, that long game, 7th. She's the 7th most efficient attacker.
Yeah, but she still gets the most kills. She's 3rd on the team in kills, and get this, no one has more kills in fewer sets in the Big Ten than Jaden Livings as a freshman. As a freshman, she is in the top of the Big Ten.
She is an inefficient scorer. Like I said, she is nothing more than a Jordan Poole. She is no Mia Tuaninga. She is no Allie Batenhorst. She is not even
let's talk about the stat padding of Eric Gentry.
Stat padding?
Yeah, okay. If his defense gives up 290 rushing yards and you're trying to say he's Trojan of the Week because of all of these stats, how else would you define that?
I would give it to him because he was just clearly the defensive leader. You look at the second half.
A leader for a team that gave up 290 rushing yards.
About the second half. Let's talk about the second half of that game. They only gave up 1 big play, and of course that is the end. It was the ending of the game, but they had 4 3-and-outs up until that point.
Yeah, but Terrence, how can we give him Trojan of the Week because of one good half?
Because it is an individual. It wasn't just one good half.
You literally just said.
I said the defense had a good half. First off.
Terrence, you said that they only had 1 good half. You just mentioned that right now. Jaden Livings was consistent throughout the week. She had a career high one night, a career high the next night, and had her first career double-double. That's Trojan of the Week material.
Well, Thomas, I would love to debate with this more, so much more. It's a shame that you lost this time around, but at least I'll try to be a little bit nicer next time. Looking forward, the team talks about Shohei Ohtani and the historic season he's having. And next up, we're also talking about concussion protocol in the NFL.
Bonjour, je suis le grand musique.
Je suis la jeune fille.
Yes, that's French they're speaking, and no, these children aren't French, they're American. And they've acquired their amazing new language skills from Muzzy, the remarkable new video language program for children developed by the British Broadcasting Corporation. With this unique BBC language course, children learn a second language with incredible ease. 4 delightful videos quickly become their favorite TV show and teaches children the same way they learned English. Learning another language becomes fun. You'll be amazed when your children begin speaking and understanding their new language from the very first day through this unique method. The entire course, 4 videos, 2 audio cassettes, the activity book, and the parent's guide and answer book is available in French, Spanish, Italian, or German.
To order, use your credit card and call this number. We'll ship and charge you $28.08 a month for 6 months. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-424-0700.
Okay, this stuff is really amazing. I mean, I put it in my mouth and I taste watermelon, but it's not just that. I taste strawberry too, but it's kind of like a watermelon-y strawberry put together. Hey, hang on. Sorry about that. And the bubbles are really awesome. I mean, that's why they call it Max, I guess. Obviously, that sort of makes sense once you think about it. Oh, I'm Dan, and that's Chuck. Hubba Max.
A whole new kind of bubble. Hey!
Last week, Dodgers megastar Shohei Ohtani made history, becoming the first player in MLB history to hit 50 homers and steal 50 bases in the same season.
One-of-a-kind player! One-of-a-kind season! Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club!
Well, that was his record breaker and second homer of the game. He finished a ludicrous 6 for 6 with 3 homers and 2 stolen bases on the night. In his 6th season in the MLB, Ohtani has been nothing short of spectacular. After signing a record-breaking contract with the Dodgers, Ohtani has shown Dodgers fans why he is worth his price tag. In his 7th season, Ohtani is a Rookie of the Year, 4-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, and 2-time MVP. He'll undoubtedly add another Silver Slugger and MVP after this year. Well, is Shohei Ohtani still the best player in baseball if he doesn't have a ring?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those stats speak for himself. He's incredible on the field. They called him a one-of-a-kind player. And I think not only on the field, but off the field as well. The Dodgers have completely revamped their stadium to cater towards a Japanese audience. They're bringing in a ton of tourists. And so I think that as well is what makes him great. That is what creates legends, when you're able to produce on the field as well as make an impact off the field.
Well, yeah, he's been able to do this to the Dodger Stadium, this and that, but he cannot be the best without a championship ring. I'm sorry, it's a hard caliber to meet, but that's why the best are the best, because they're able to bring in a ring. And sure, he has all the stats, but it means nothing unless he brings the Dodgers a championship title.
Well, Shohei Ohtani obviously has not played in a playoff game yet. That will come this season with the Dodgers. Grace, to follow up with your question, what does he have to do to get that? Is it the championship? Can he win a couple playoff series, or is it all the way?
He needs the ring, Liam. He needs the ring. And I say that the best player in baseball, if they're that good, they would be able to get them a championship ring.
I mean, LeBron doesn't have 6 rings, but I still consider him greater than Michael Jordan, so...
Well, I don't think these players are considered the GOAT, but we'll shift over the discussion. We're going to throw it over to Daniel to hear what he has to say about the NFL and their new concussion policies.
Even with the introduction of new Guardian Cap helmets for this season, concussions are still a big concern for the NFL and player safety. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered his 3rd concussion after colliding with Bills safety Damar Hamlin. Many fans believe Tagovailoa should seriously consider retirement, even though he has said he has no plans to do so. Tagovailoa has been on the injured reserve list since his injury, and it is uncertain when he will return. When a player shows signs of a concussion, they are removed from the game and examined in the locker room. In order to return, the player must pass a series of tests and evaluations from independent doctors and trainers. Even if the player is able to return, it is possible that symptoms can develop after the game. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is prioritizing Tua's health and safety, and the team has no plans to rush him back to the field from his injury.
I'm not worried about anything that's out of my hands in terms of, I'm just worried about the human being, and he'll drive the ship when we get the appropriate information, but it's day-by-day health.
And guys, with Tua already suffering 3 concussions in the NFL, I think that he should seriously consider retirement because it's just not worth it for his long-term health. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm going to have to second that, Daniel, 100%. I think the crazy thing about this is in a week or so, Tua Tagovailoa is going to feel completely fine. There's going to be nothing wrong with him. There's not going to be a nagging knee injury, a foot, a hip, whatever it may be. So he's going to feel like he's fine and he can play a game of football again. For me, that is unbelievably crazy to even think about after this amount of concussions. Also, I will point out it's a little ironic that it happened with Damar Hamlin as well, making the tackle.
Yeah, that is super ironic. I mean, but as a Miami Dolphins fan and a South Florida native, I want to see Tua return to the field. I think that, yes, he's concussion prone, but I think if he continues to do the steps to rehab correctly, we can see him back out there.
Well, I'm no medical professional, but I do think it brings up an interesting question that is what does the NFL need to do to improve safety conditions without losing the essence of the game? I felt like I had a concussion just then. But with the implementation of things like targeting calls and guardian caps, what else can the NFL do to kind of help promote the safety of players without losing the essence of the game?
I mean, I think there's not much more the NFL can do. I think that's just the nature of the game, the nature of football. It's a competitive sport. The players are like gladiators going out there head to head. I mean, we already saw the NFL change the kickoff rule and hope to decrease the injuries, and so they're continuing to make steps to progress. But I think football, it's an aggressive, it's a hard-hitting game, and you're gonna have injuries.
Yeah, Daniel, I'd love to hear your perspective on that if you're still there and would have an opinion on this.
Yeah, guys, I kind of agree with all of you. Football, no matter what, is a very competitive sport, and even if you don't get concussions, the constant getting hit and getting on the ground is going to cause some sort of head trauma. So I agree that I don't really think there's anything that the NFL can do to prevent concussions completely, but it's nice to know that they're always taking the right steps to try and do that.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for joining us here today. What a great discussion. But that's all we have time for here today on Sports Scene. I'm Grace Schneider.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Devin Diet. Thanks for watching and see you all next week.